would just like to bring you a little message today from Yah's Covenant Calendar. It's a very special message to the Covenant Calendar members. We hope that you enjoy a short presentation. And what is it about, Tim?
This is about a very serious misrepresentation. We at Covenant Calendar Club, we believe that the covenant of Yahuah has been slandered in a very, very serious way. And it's our intentions to bring this to the forefront and show the problems with this slander and set the story straight as to just who is Covenant Calendar and what do they believe. Most important for this message, what don't they believe? What should they not be compared to? And that is going to be the message in this PowerPoint. Go ahead, Charlene.
Yes, so we just hope that you enjoy it and that it will help you to understand what's going on with the battle of the calendars. It's come to our attention about a new video from Lighted Way Ministry that is attempting to correct the calculations of several biblical calendars. Now, this is due to the fact that they believe these calendars all contain fatal errors. And for those that are just new and they're just learning, we would like to bring just a very short special message for clarification of exactly what covenant calendar cannot be compared to. While no harm is intended to anybody concerned, when it comes to the calculations of any biblical calendars, the Ministry of Lighted Way has brought forth highly inaccurate information intended to oppose the message that is set forth by Covenant Calendar Club. There was an erroneous direct link. Yes, direct link, verbally and visually, and it was made public, including comparisons and connections to some variety of the Enoch calendar, which, by the way, Covenant Calendar has no part of. We feel that this slander needs to be refuted immediately because this is not the first time this has happened. And it needs to be refuted to all concerned that the Covenant Calendar of Yahuah, as written in the Torah, has nothing less than absolutely zero connection to the Enoch calendar misinformation. We want to make that very clear that there is no connection between Enoch and Covenant Calendar. Although the Covenant Calendar message has been seriously misrepresented, we are going to follow in Yahush's Salom because he is our high priest in Hebrews 6:20. He is the example to exhort our fellow believers at Lighted Way Ministry as it directs us in Hebrews 10:19 to 25. And this is what you'll find in these verses. We want to exhort our fellow believers with sincere hearts because we draw near in full assurance of faith, having a clean conscience. We hold fast the confession of our hope in his covenant without wavering, and we edify one to another to love and have good deeds, so that our assembling together on those special appointed times will never be forsaken. And number 5, we step forward to encourage one another, and even more now as we see the day approaching. These are things in Hebrews 10 that we need to pay attention to. Yes, the word of Yahuah declares many things, but let's look first in Exodus 23:1. It's the first part of the verse. It says to all those that are obeying Torah, do not bring a false report. In Psalm 63:11, it says, but let the sovereign rejoice in Elohim. Let everyone who swears by him exult, for the mouth of those speaking lies are stopped. Isaiah 51 also tells us, cry aloud and do not spare. Lift up your voice like a ram's horn. Declare to my people their transgression and the house of Jacob their sins. Colossians 2:8, we are to see to it that no one captivates us through empty deception according to the tradition of men, nor the elementary matters of the world that are not according to Yahusha. And don't forget, there was a demise at Jericho that was pretty serious. It is our duty to expose the misrepresentation of the Melchizedek priesthood message, the covenant of old that was reestablished and made new by Yahusha at Golgotha. For Yahusha, the word, which is covenant, is also the mystery which has been hidden from the past ages and generations in Colossians 1. In Hebrews 6:20, where Yahusha has entered as a forerunner for us, having become a high priest forever, according to the order of Melchizedek. And as commanded to his priesthood following his death in Revelation 5:10, it says, and he made us sovereigns and priests to our Elohim, and we shall reign upon the earth. So much information there about being a priest under our high priest. Now, on the next 3 slides, we'll be seeing the Enoch contamination that has come from Lighted Way Ministries, which has been linked together with the covenant calendar of Yahuah. We want it to be known to all that the covenant calendar website at studythecalendar.com has no less than 18 highly detailed hours of video and PDFs where anyone can explore at your very own pace, exposing the absolute and total absence of Torah or scriptural foundation of any kind in the Enoch calendar messages. In fact, the Joshua Sickle series of studies are going to reveal this truth in minute detail according to the great many texts that are examined therein. It's a very exhaustive study. So let's take a look at these 3 slides. The first one is their title slide. It is this message was given on March 20th, 2021. They have purposely tried to misrepresent Yahusha's new covenant, so we felt that it was necessary to have a word about this. It's titled The Woman and the Moon, not the woman standing on the moon. And it's also titled Restoring the Calendar. Of course, restoring the calendar of the woman and the moon, how she is connected and married to the moon. Well, let's look what's on the next slide. It's very interesting that the book of Enoch comes up, and there is a quote here that says, the moon has nothing to do with the calendar. Well, that part is true. Enoch does the same thing. And covenant calendar doesn't have anything to do with the moon as far as when the worship statutes are to be observed. And then it says, the year begins at the vernal equinox. Passover is the 14th day after the equinox. Well, part of the statement is true and part of it is false, because the year does not begin at the vernal equinox, but it does start the day after, and then you count 14. The third slide that is given is this one. It has been photoshopped so that it doesn't say covenant calendar at the top, but it is definitely the calendar of Covenant Calendar Club, and it is for this year, 2021. It has the color code there so that you can tell where Tekufa is and where the first day is and where Passover is and a couple of other feasts in the first 6 and 7 months. So they have demonstrated that this is the calendar that they're talking about, and they are comparing it to the Enoch calendar. Well, let's go on and see what else there is to know about this. Tim's going to help us out with that.
Thank you, Charlene. Number 1, please note that Covenant Calendar New Year Day in 2020 began on a 6th cycle, or Friday. Point number 2, New Year's Day Covenant Calendar 2021 is on a 1st cycle of the week, a Sunday. These 2 factors alone deliver Covenant Calendar a complete and full disconnect from the Enoch calendar, which, number 1, demands a permanent 4th cycle start, and number 2, another Enoch variety demands a 1st cycle start to each and every year, always. So if you look down in the Covenant calendars there, you'll see the blue arrows, and they'll point to the days that started the years. Very, very different than the Enoch calendar. No connection whatsoever. covenant calendar does indeed count every month out by 30 days each without deviation at any time. And most emphatically, Yahuah's covenant calendar was agreed to 3 times by the Hebrew nation before the blood ratification and then sealed with the covenant meal at Mount Sinai. It does not depend on nor include the moon cycles of any phase to bring forth Yahuah's Kodesh, his new months, in his Shaneh worship year. There is simply zero Hebrew language connection of the word Chodesh to a moon phase of any kind. The deceptive lunar connection to Yahuah's new month of his worship cycles is a fully suggested tradition of man right from the pits of Jericho. And if you look in our study sources, you'll see this suggested connection to the moon in italics. That is the reason for italics, because it is a suggestion only. It is not factual. Point number 2. With even a very brief examination, it can be ascertained that the Enoch calendar demands its months are counted in the pattern of 30, 30, 31. That is very different from the covenant calendar of the scripture. The scriptures demand a straight 30, 30, 30 count, always. Yet Enoch has a 31 in there, separate once again from covenant calendar and the scriptures. Number 3, it is proven unequivocally from Torah that Noah did not utilize a month with 31 days at any time during the flood. Noah did not use the Enoch calendar. Once again, a complete segregation of Torah's calendar of the Melchizedek covenant from Enoch, and it is established profoundly. Point 4. In 12 months, Enoch has 364 days, in contrast to the 360 days within the covenant calendar worship year. Point number 5. Covenant calendar recognizes the word Shaneh as seen over 850 times in the Tanakh, and starting at Genesis 1 verse 14, inherently indicates a 360 cycle year. This was established at creation. Therefore, all prophecy is proclaimed in strict 30-day months and a 360 cycle years. Please note, this is seen ultra clearly in Noah's flood account. Number 6. Isaiah has informed us 7 times that if we want to know the ending, we must understand the beginning. The only way Revelation's end-time prophecies, which have already been spoken by the mouth of Yahuah in a 360 cycle per year format, can be fulfilled, is by returning back to a 360 cycle year, a Shaneh year. Otherwise, Revelation's timelines cannot be fulfilled as spoken by Yahuah and recorded in the book of Revelation. When time is restored, and that's Matthew 24:22 and Mark 13:20, where it says, "Unless those times are shortened, no man shall live." So what times are shortened? We know that the prophetic timelines cannot be shortened because they are already spoken from the mouth of Yahuah, and they are as if it had already happened. So what days are going to be shortened? Back to the start. When time is restored back to the 360-day year as given and outlined at creation, so that prophecy can be fulfilled and man can be saved according to the word of Yahuah, where will the mathematically designed Enoch calendar stand with its 364-day year? It is a magnificent mathematically designed calendar, but the problem is, does it have any place in Yahuah's kingdom? Upon which calendar will your allegiance depend? The 364-day Enoch calendar, which has no place in eternity? Or on the 360 cycle covenant calendar, which was agreed to 3 times by the Hebrew nation, recorded by Moshe in the book of the covenant, blood ratified, and sealed by the 75 Hebrew leaders on Mount Sinai at the covenant meal? Where is your allegiance? Where will it be when the time comes? To those willing to allow even a small amount of their time towards study of the calendar topic, the Torah will brilliantly inform everyone that covenant calendar simply has zero connection to the Enoch calendar deception. The ministry which has leveled the false Enoch accusations toward the covenant calendar have not accomplished their due diligence. Did they have the material in their hands to accomplish their due diligence? We're going to see about that very soon. Next up, where is covenant calendar based? The covenant calendar was derived from the actual event recordings in the Tanakh. The dates and the cycles, the weekly, monthly, and yearly, all within the Melchizedek covenant from Genesis 1 to Exodus 24:11. The covenant calendar is also revealed implicitly throughout the Tanakh, and as covenant calendar proudly proclaims, by the life and death records found in the New Testament books written of our Savior, Yahushua HaMashiach. Yes, indeed, Yahushua kept straight 30-day months, even in his death. Where is the Enoch calendar information based? In the various editions of the books of Enoch, of which there are many contradictions in opposition to not only the Torah, but very significantly contradictions within themselves. And these books of Enoch have their base found in the Dead Sea Scrolls, of which those Dead Sea Scrolls spent about 50 years in the basement of the Vatican. What was happening there? Just a question. Again, when a person spends but a little time investigating, it becomes brilliantly clear that covenant calendar has absolutely zero connection or affiliation of any kind with the abominations of the Enoch calendar. Yet, covenant calendar has been erroneously connected to the Enoch calendar. How could this happen? Charlene?
Well, there's a little story behind this, a little bit of history. You know, many materials regarding the truths of the covenant calendar have been freely shared and sent to Lighted Way Ministries since 2012, and many more bundles of information and a lot of lengthy phone calls in 2018 from May to August in order to share what this calendar is all about. We just felt that they would be so happy to hear about it. But it was shortly after the Omer count of 2020 when we heard that Lighted Way Ministry had made a declaration to a covenant calendar member that the covenant calendar was an Enoch calendar. Well, I sent out another full package. I had placed right on the outside of the envelope in a clear sleeve that covenant calendar had nothing to do with the Enoch calendar. And I had left a request, would they please correct this false statement to those that they are teaching and make sure that everybody knows. And inside the package, I had some evidence there so that they could read it and understand that the covenant calendar has nothing to do with the Enoch calendar. It was quite clear of the differences. Well, apparently, these items were not examined for their content. I had asked them to correct their statement so that all of the people that they were teaching would know that covenant calendar could never be compared to the Enoch calendar or any of the Dead Sea Scroll calendars. And I think that they have made an assumption that because the Enoch calendar doesn't use the moon to count the months, and neither does covenant calendar, that we were both the same. We all got lumped into the same barrel. Well, it has been less than a year later, now on March 20th of 2021, and it's very evident that Lighted Way Ministry still is believing and teaching that the covenant calendar is an Enoch-based calendar. Well, what's that going to do? It's going to instill fear into many that could deter them from even looking at covenant calendar to find out what it's all about. We're really quite concerned about this, and we wanted to make sure that everybody knows that Enoch calendar has nothing to do, not very much in common with covenant calendar at all.
Covenant calendar was accused of the teaching that the moon is evil, which is far from the truth. The moon is given high regard in the Torah for the ordinances that are mandated from the hand of our Creator to bless nature and mankind. Covenant calendar will never knowingly negate any significance to what Yahuah has glorified and commissioned. Instead, covenant calendar will emphatically emphasize that which is written in the Melchizedek covenant as reestablished at Golgotha by Yahushua HaMashiach. Covenant calendar has a great respect for the ordinances of the moon, according to its strict commission by Yahuah himself. Covenant calendar accepts the Hebrew words of the Torah and the Tanakh, which declares unequivocally that the moon has no light of its own, but is simply a reflector of the light emitting from the sun. Are there verses that state that the moon is reflecting light from the sun? Absolutely. If one gets and reads closely, they are there. The proof is there. We just need to look and do a little bit of searching and accept the words that Yahuah inspired. Covenant calendar accepts that the moon has utterly no possibility whatsoever of fulfilling Yahuah's mandate, as written in Genesis 1:14. What is that mandate? Let's look at it. And Elohim said, "Let lights come to be in the expanse of the heavens." And here is the mandate: to separate the day from the night, and let them be for signs and appointed times, and for days and for years. That word years is shaneh. That is seen 850 times in the Tanakh, and it inherently indicates a 360-day year. But what about this mandate that the lights were to separate the day from the night? There are two great lights, as recorded in the scriptures. One distinguishes the light season by shining brilliantly and supplying heat. The second, the lesser light, reigns consistently in the night sky, and it defines Yahusha's plan of salvation each and every night. The Torah of Yahuah, through the Hebrew language definitions, makes it ultra clear that the moon simply has no possibility of dividing the two seasons. And yet we are told sometimes, we hear that, the full moon marks the night season, and that's what separates it. What is it about the full moon that is different? If we look at this moon going through the light season sky, it is that exact same moon that enters into the night season. It does not change its size. It does not flip upside down. It does not spin backwards. It does not change color. It doesn't do a hip hop, wee bop dance through the sky to denote something different. That moon that goes through the night is the exact same moon that we see in the light season. It does not change. It does not up its reflective ability simply because the night season come on. So what is different at night, especially in the full moon? Well, Yahuah separated the light from the night, and Yahuah brings on the night season. That is why the moon is much easier to spot. That is why it glows the sunlight from it so much more brilliant, because it's dark around it. It has nothing to do with the moon taking action of its own to separate anything. The moon is seen just as much in the clear blue sky as it is at night. The moon does not separate the light from the night seasons. It does not have that possibility. Yet, The moon is to be enjoyed by all mankind, to appreciate its grandeur, and to be grateful that all life on earth is blessed with its ordained purposes. But Torah strictly forbids looking to it for worship statutes. Please read Deuteronomy 4:19 and chapter 17, verses 2 to 7. It becomes very, very clear how we should be observing the celestial orbs. Covenant calendar accepts the words of the Torah and rejects the traditions of man. Ephesians 5:7 has some very strong advice for us. Actually, it's a command. Therefore, do not become partakers with them, for you were once in darkness, but now you are light in the Master. Walk as children of light. That is a command. That's not a suggestion. Walk as children of light. And Ephesians 5:11, and have no fellowship with the fruitless works of darkness, but rather reprove them. What was it about Jericho that was darkness, that had to be destroyed? Was it not the city of worshiping the moon and following the moon? It was destroyed. Is there a lesson there? And what about the woman standing on the moon of Revelation 12? Is that just another prophetic picture to show that the moon has been defeated from times of Jericho? The bride of Yahushua will have victory over those that worship the moon. And that is what is shown in Revelation 12:1. The moon is in a position of utter defeat. Moon worship, or following the moon of any kind for Yahusha's worship statutes, is not acceptable. So with this PowerPoint where we have shown that Covenant Calendar Club has no connection whatsoever in any way, shape, or form to the calendar of Enoch, we say, let the misrepresentation cease and the truth prevail. Here we have an official statement from Covenant Calendar. If other ministries desire to evaluate what Covenant Calendar Club teaches, then we eagerly invite them to simply learn the base message that we promote first, before any comparison is performed. We appreciate truth being spoken, not error. Then may it be shared to edify the body of believers who wish to gather together on Yahuah's appointed times. May Elohim bless you and keep you. May Yahushua shine his face upon you and be gracious unto you. May Yahuah look upon you and send you his shalom. And just a reminder, all teachings for Covenant Calendar can be found at www.studythecalendar.com. And if you have questions, send them to questions@studythecalendar.com. Thank you for your time. We appreciate it, and we hope this message has opened your eyes and blessed you. Thank you.